I've been doing it all wrong, apparently. Joining me on the Newswatch is Sharri Markson, former editor of Clio, and now the Top Gun national political editor of the Daily Telegraph. I mentioned Clio, Sharri, to establish your credentials for commenting on popular culture. But Sharri, the ABC coverage, come on. How did the national broadcaster get caught out giving such a dispirited and lacklustre coverage of the royal wedding? We don't care, we do care, maybe we care. I mean, really?
Look, on ratings, we completely agree, Andrew, but I have to say, as a former Clio editor, I've got to disagree with you on fashion. I thought Annabel Crabb looked lovely, and she's a lovely person as well. but no, I'm surprised. I'm surprised even 500,000 people tuned in to watch the ABC. I mean, look at the backdrop. There was an empty grass field. By contrast, even though 9 wasn't on ground, they had a lot of excitement going on in the background, and 7, of course, was right there. Their studio was on the grounds of Windsor Castle. You had the arrivals happening in the background. There's just not even a question why you would watch the ABC instead of that. Now, I have to tell you, I watched the royal wedding from a pub in Bundanoon on the New South Wales south coast because we had this trekking weekend. Don't ask me why. So I watched it in the pub, and there was this conversation around the bar, you know, the pub table, about which station to watch. And one woman said, let's watch the ABC because she liked Annabel Crabb, and she was completely overruled by everyone else, and we started with 9 and then changed to Channel 7.
Oh, look, well, on that point, Channel 9 sent over Carl Stefanovic and Georgie Gardner to host their wedding coverage. They got 500,000 fewer viewers than 7. Why would that be?
Well, as I said before, it's the location. I mean, you just couldn't beat Channel 7. You had Melissa Doyle and Michael Usher sitting right there in front of the royal carriages and cars as they were arriving. You could see Windsor Castle in the background. They were the only Australian broadcaster on set. Also, their coverage was very sophisticated. There was beautiful royal-style music in the background. It was slick. Melissa Doyle's very popular, and as we know, Carl Stefanovic's popularity has taken a hit in recent times with the drama in his personal life. But you know, you're there to watch the wedding, so you're going to watch the station where you can actually see Harry and William and Meghan arriving with her mum, and you know, you really felt that live energy when you were watching 7. And Melissa Doyle was quite excited. She was, you know, jumping up to see as they were arriving. So it's no wonder that they got 2 million Metro viewers, and even more, you know, across the country when you take the regions.
Yeah, well, that's true. But it's, you know, Carl Stefanovic, I thought, was an interesting, perhaps not a wise choice, and not a happy choice to host it. A thing about a wedding, given his own problems that you allude to, and then also the tension, well reported, with Georgie Gardner. You don't then, I don't know, I thought it was, you've got to have some personal chemistry in sync with the event that you're covering. 10 gave up, Channel 10. It didn't cover the wedding at all on its main channel, and had what some are saying is it's the lowest ever share of viewers, 3.4%.
Yeah.
What options does a station like that have when everyone seems glued to only one event only?
I was surprised they didn't cover it, that they weren't even in the race. You know, they've recently been bought by CBS, so you'd think that they'd have a new injection of funds. They've got Lisa Wilkinson there, who's more than capable of covering a royal wedding, you know, very experienced. So, you know, I would have thought that she should have been over there, and they should have had the coverage if they want to get back to be one of the top commercial television stations, which is what 10 says their aim is. But perhaps their rebuilding process is even slower than anticipated. I think it was the wrong call. They should have had Lisa and Carrie Bickmore over there.
Good point, Carrie Bickmore too, absolutely. Now back to the ABC though, Sharri. It couldn't muster any enthusiasm for the wedding, but one of its guests on Q&A last night had enthusiasm to spare, but it was in fact a sort of misdirected enthusiasm, a misdirected anger. Here is Randa Abdel Fattah, a research fellow in the sociology department of Macquarie University.
For me, the monarchy represents an institution of imperialism and racism, and it has been enriched by that, by corruption, by imperialism, racism, slavery.
Well, where does the ABC find these people, and why does the Australian Research Council give them grants, I might add?
Well, God, well, you've done a lot on the Australian Research Council, and you know how they give funding to the most rubbish, bizarre causes rather than just, you know, sensible research purposes. But that's another story for another time. You know, this woman was appalling last night, and her comments about the monarchy being racist at a time when there was a black Episcopalian preacher at the royal wedding. You had a black gospel choir. Like, this was the most multicultural wedding, and the Queen has embraced Harry marrying a divorcee, someone who herself is multicultural, you know, from an ethnic background. It's just unbelievable that you know, this is the royals entering a new era of diversity, not you know, showing their racist colours. It was uncalled for, but I think what we're about
Sherry,
to...
now please give the ABC some credit, right? It couldn't find in all London, couldn't find a good spot to carry the wedding, but in Australia managed to find about the one person in Australia who thought the wedding was rubbish and they're all racist and all that. So give it credit. Now listen, Abdel Fattah was also given the chance on Q&A for a very long rant, and this is less funny, about Israel's alleged evil to Palestinian protesters in the Gaza Strip. Here is just a short sample from minutes worth of the stuff.
An open-air prison, the largest concentration camp in the world. 97% of the water is poisonous. It is undrinkable. And why is that? Because Israel denied them a water desalination plant and bombed their water treatment facility. What more do we have to do for you to take notice? And they did it in a non-violent protest.
On and on she went, and she made claims that I think should be fact-checked, and I have started fact-checking them. But when the Australian's Greg Sheridan tried to give the other side of that, he was cut off very, very quick smart. Have a listen.
Because of Hamas, which took power and murdered many, many Palestinians.
Okay, Greg, I'm going to interrupt you only to go to a question.
You've got to let me give the context.
I promise you.
But that's not
I want to
it's
go
not fair. It's not fair to allow all this emotion and then to prevent me from having any...
I'm not preventing you. I'm going to the audience. If you just, both of you, if you just hang on for 1 second.
Sherry, that's just incredible. I mean, Abdel Fattah even got a bigger time to respond to him being cut off than he got to make his point.
Yeah, you know, this is serious and this is really upsetting. You know, we cannot pretend for a moment longer that the ABC is in any way impartial when it comes to the Middle East and Israel. Greg Sheridan was repeatedly interrupted and cut off on this topic last night, and this Randa woman was given ample time for her ludicrous claims that what's going on in Gaza is like the concentration camp. It is not. It is wrong. And even the question from the audience at the very start that prompted this discussion referred to the UN Human Rights Council and its independent investigation. Well,
give me a break.
As Greg Sheridan did point out, exactly, as Sheridan did point out on Q&A, the UN Human Rights Council is a discredited body that has passed more resolutions against Israel than any other country, and he said than any other country put together, and I trust his maths on that. But secondly, what he didn't get to say is that in the resolution it proposed, it first condemned Israel for its unnecessary use of force, and then went on to suggest an independent investigation. Well, you're not going to get an independent investigation when you already have the outcome. Not only this, but with the ABC, we are seeing them at their premier flagship news and current affair programs like Four Corners and 7:30, hiring people who are pro-Palestinian. You know, this is a taxpayer-funded news organisation that is taken one view when it comes to Israel, and it is just unacceptable.
Sherry Markson, that is getting it said. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Andrew.